Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be propagating a Swiss cheese plant. So we'll walk through exactly what propagation is and the best methods to get the best chance of success for your plant. So jumping right in, this is the Swiss cheese plant today, also known as the Monstera adansonii. So it is part of the aroid family, and it is a vining houseplant, as you can see. So we have a few different sizes here, and this is going to be our mother plant, so what we're going to propagate from. So if you do have one of these plants, you may notice that it is going to like to either trail down in a hanging basket or climb upwards like it would in its natural habitat. And to climb upwards, it's going to need something to latch onto, and it uses these aerial roots in the wild to kind of anchor itself to trees or different substrates in order to reach higher towards the sun and get that larger growth. So you can see that ours is pretty leggy here. So there are a few reasons you may want to propagate. And one is for the act of pruning, and just to kind of trim it up and train it in a way to grow how you want it to grow, because you can see the leaves get a little sparse in these leggier portions. Another reason, the main reason for propagating, is to create a new plant. So you're taking that existing plant, the parent source, and creating new little baby plants from it. And there are a few things you want to look out for when you are propagating, and that is, first of all, that the plant is legal to be propagated. Some plants are patented. However, this one is naturally occurring in the wild. It's not a man-made plant. So this one you are free to propagate however you want to. Another thing you want to look out for is the type of plant. Today we're only focusing on this Swiss cheese plant, and anything else that is vining and has these aerial roots, you can typically use the method of cutting and water propagation, which we're going to focus on today. So other plants will require different types of propagation. So you can't just go and cut any plant and expect it to root. So jumping right in with our propagation, we'll go through a step-by-step process to best propagate this plant. And what we want to start with is our prep. So getting your materials ready. So you're going to want the plant first of all, and you want to make sure that it has enough growth to sustain the propagation. So something that's a little more established, at least like a 6-inch plant like we have here. And next you're going to need your pruners or scissors, whatever you have that is clean and sharp enough to cut. Having clean, sterile scissors is just really important, so we make sure we're not transferring anything like bacteria, pests, anything that could cause the demise of the plant. Next, what you want is a cup for water. Since we will be rooting this plant directly in water, you just want a small vessel to put it in. So anything like this little jar here, a teacup, any small vial that you may have that we can just kind of submerge deep enough, so maybe about 3 or 4 inches in height. So the next step is we're going to identify what areas we want to cut, and what you're going to look for are those aerial roots. So you may be able to see here where kind of the leaf and the stem start to meet. There are these nodes, so these pointy little nodes here. So once you identify the node, you want at least 2 nodes on each cutting, and you're going to cut below the node. So the node is where the root will emerge from. So that is what wants to be submerged in the water. So you want to make sure that you get that node. So I'm actually going to cut 3 here. So I'm going to cut maybe about a 1/4 inch below the node. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And then when I go to submerge it in water, I want to make sure that none of this leaves are going to be in the water, because we just don't want any type of rotting or decay. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that little leaf and go ahead and submerge in water. So right now I have 1 node submerged in water, and just to give this a better chance of success, I'm going to submerge that second one into water as well. So another thing about propagation, little tip is that it may not always work on the first try, and not every cutting is going to root. So giving yourself a little bit of room for trial and error, as well as just more chances here with more nodes. So another way to increase your chance of success is to do another one. Have more propagations at one time. So identifying once again our node. So again, this time I'm only going to cut 2 here. So cutting below the node and then submerging in water. And of course, always removing any leaves that may be water also. So now what we do is we wait, and you're gonna place this in a location that's kind of in a similar location to where your mother plant is currently growing. So you do need light for photosynthesis in order for the roots to grow. So any area with medium to bright but indirect light. So you don't want any direct sun exposure, just because that can burn these plant leaves. Also, it's important to replace the water about once a week, just so that there's no buildup or anything lurking in the water that could cause bacterial and lead to rotting of the tissues. And you just want to maintain that water level. So eventually the water is going to start to evaporate, and you're going to need to refresh the water. And then after about 2 weeks or so, your cutting will start to develop roots. So this is one that I already had going in this test tube here, and this one is a lot older than 2 weeks. This one's been in here for probably closer to 2 months. So you can see that the roots have gotten really long. So what you basically want to do at this point is decide the next step, and typically that's planting your cuttings directly into soil so that it can mature and grow into a plant. So really you only need your roots to be about 2 to 4 inches in length. And as you can see, these I know are a lot longer, and this is ready to be planted directly into soil. So this plant actually is derived from cuttings. So this is actually 2 cuttings in here, as you can see, and this plant has already started to grow a lot. We have a couple of new leaves that are emerging, and this one was potted directly into soil maybe about 4 weeks ago. So it's now starting to really establish itself. The roots are establishing, and it has turned into a really healthy, beautiful plant on its own. So when you go to pot your cuttings after they've grown about 2 to 4 inches of roots, just keep in mind to use the correct size pot. So we used a 4-inch pot on this one because there are 2 cuttings. And if you're using anywhere from 3 to 6 cuttings, you could use a 6-inch pot. So just kind of keep that in mind to not go too big or too small, and the plant has room to expand. So those are the best steps for propagating your Swiss cheese plant in the easiest, most effective method. And it really is just a simple and free way to create more plants for yourself, more greenery for yourself. And it's also a rewarding process as we get to literally watch the roots grow. Again, it will be an experiment of trial and error. So patience is always key, and just keep trying. And if you do have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you.